Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tactical Gary, and today's video is a little bit different than most of my other videos. Naturally, I like to use a lot of technology. Today I'm going to be using virtual reality to simulate an environment and to discuss kind of a topic that some preppers may know about. Some preppers this may be new to other preppers. That's the potential that we may be in the kind of the SHTF scenario to end all SHTF scenarios. That is the end of times. Now, hold on a second, because before, as soon as you start hearing Tactical Gary talk about religious stuff like that, you're probably gonna say, "Tactical Gary, you're some kind of religious nut." Well, I gotta tell you, I'm not actually. I do believe in God, but I'm not religious at all. I'm not a Christian, but still. There is a lot of evidence that this 12th century prophecy of the Catholic Church's Saint Malachy could in fact be true, and it could be predicting the end of the world at this exact moment, with specific timing and falsifiable predictions that we will know if they are correct or false in the very close near future. See, now I'm not religious personally, although I kind of am in the sense that I created my own religion. So a couple of years ago, I was in Home Depot and thinking to myself, Tactical Gary, you're all about the DIY. You kind of embody DIY. So, what's like the ultimate DIY thing to do? Why don't I DIY a religion? And I did. I created something. It's sort of a combination of it's like the Kabbalah with Wiccan Earth mysticism. Not that those are, what I did is I got home from Home Depot, went on Amazon, just grabbed a bunch of books randomly on religion, mysticism, threw some stuff against the wall, see what stuck, and came up with my own little religions. Basically, it's just a practical thing. I'm trying to save a lot of money that way. But I digress. That's a story for another time. But today we're going to be talking about the prophecy of Malachy. All right, so again, as always, I like to use a lot of technology. So let's hop into virtual reality. Let's hop into Google Earth and explore some places that we're talking about. Anyway, don't mind me. I'm just doing the virtual reality as I talk to you. So, so today we're going to be talking about the prophecy of Malachy. Saint Malachy, as I said, was a 12th century archbishop of Armagh in Northern Ireland. So you see, Saint Malachy was allegedly gifted with the power of prophecy. That would be, in scientific terms, what we would call a clairvoyant. So, St. Malachy predicted many things to the day in his lifetime, according to first-hand accounts. His biggest claim to fame is the list of all future popes. That is the prophecy of the popes that spans all the way until, you guessed it, the end times, the end of the world, the apocalypse, the actual apocalypse. Thus, he sort of snuck into the official record of humanity some little tips for preppers, basically, to get ready for this SHTF scenario to end all SHTF scenarios. So right now we're gonna go to Rome. We're talking about the popes. Let's go right to where they live. It just so happens that, according to his prophecy, by naming each subsequent pope into the future, we've been tracking them. And we're on the last one right now, according to his prophecy. We're on the very last pope to oversee sort of the end of the world. So Malachy's prophecy, like I said, it gave each pope a little slogan or a phrase to sort of represent that pope. There's just far too many that just are pretty uncanny. And I've always been a skeptic. Like I said, I'm not religious, but some of these do turn my head a little bit, make me do a double take. They do seem to be a little bit, they seem to be pretty dead on, but I'll let you be the judge of that. So, I've become more open-minded. Actually, let's go into this church right here. Okay, so, the cool thing is that, because we live in the last pope to oversee the end of the world according to his prophecy, that means that we can if there is another pope after this one, and we don't have the end of the world, we can pretty much say this prophecy, which has been going on now for centuries, since the 12th century, is false. We can just rule it out. But right now, it looks like it's probably true. It's kind of a harsh reality, but preppers are ready for this sort of thing. So it's totally falsifiable within the next few years, probably. As soon as this current pope moves on to the next, whatever happens with the next pope. So I just want to give you a few examples of some of the prophecies of Malachy that seem to be pretty good. So we all know the previous pope, Benedict the 16th. Well, Benedict the 15th was the pope from 1914 to 1922. So Pope Benedict the 15th's slogan was Religio Depopulata. That is, religion depopulated. He was the pope during the greatest period of Christianity basically losing members. Literally hundreds of millions of people left Christianity, left the Catholic Church, as the Bolshevik Revolution created a militarization of atheism, or a military movement which held atheism as one of its core requirements. If you wanted to stay alive, you were an atheist. So, so that pope was his nickname was Religio Depopulata. Now, let's look at the falsifiability of that. If he had that name, Religio Depopulata, the depopulation of religion, and any other pope had that, would it make sense? Well, yeah, you could probably look at some things where there were some horrible things, but this was the greatest depopulation of the Catholic Church that there's ever been. So that is kind of an interesting thing. So World War I started in the middle of this pope. It was at that time the greatest war the Earth had ever seen, the greatest loss of life. I mean, this was a depopulation like no other. So, okay, well, all right. I mean, it's not a smoking gun, but it's interesting. So let's jump ahead to 1939 to 1958. We have Pope Pius the 12th. His nickname was the Angelic Pastor, and this pope actually used, I don't know if it was a prophecy or if it was just this pope saying, believing in the prophecy, but the Pope Pius XII took this name very seriously. He tried to live it, and in fact he even produced an autobiographical film of his life, and he named it, you guessed it, the Angelic Pope. So what we get from Pope Pius XII is that he was 109 on the list, but he took this prophecy seriously, and he followed it, as he walked these very streets that I'm walking right now, and lived this life. It's part of this world. So actually, let's go into this church right here. Okay, so let's jump ahead to John Paul I. Now, I was born during this brief 1-month reign of John Paul I. He was only the Pope for 1 month in 1978, and his nickname was of the half moon. So get this. He was elected right on the half moon. His reign covered exactly 1 moon cycle, and it ended on, you guessed it, the half moon. He was the 110th Pope on the list, and again, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good prediction. All right, so let's move on to his successor, John Paul II. His nickname was of the eclipse of the sun, and you can probably guess where this is going. He was born on a solar eclipse, and he died in a solar eclipse. His reign came to an end on a solar eclipse, and his nickname was of the eclipse of the sun. So now we're starting to get a little bit freaky. So this is where it gets personal to Tactical Gary. I first learned of this prophecy back in the very last days of John Paul II. As we were approaching that solar eclipse that his name seems to connect to, around 2005. I just found that as a curiosity. It wasn't religious to me. I was just looking for some cool stuff on the internet late at night, and I came across this message board where people were trying to predict what the next pope was going to be based on the prophecy. So I'm on the message board, and I remember people speculating the 111th pope is the glory of the olive branch. And people were trying to say, well, who could it be? I do remember people who were at the time actually thinking, this was before Pope Benedict was elected. We had no idea who it was going to be. And there people were saying, well, he's somehow going to be connected with the Benedictine order because they are associated with the olive branch. So some people were wondering maybe it'll be a Benedictine, which it wasn't. But get this, there was somebody who said, I don't know, but he's going to be Pope Benedict. I actually saw that before the Pope was chosen and chose his name. Sure enough, it happened. All right, so now you got to put yourself in my shoes. Not only are there some pretty impressive predictions, but someone in real time makes a absurdly interesting prediction, and it comes true. Falsifiable, falsifiable to some degree. I mean, if he hadn't chosen the name Benedict, that one guy would have been falsified, but then I would have, someone else would have been right, like somebody who said, "Oh," and there's always some connection you can make. I mean, you gotta be skeptical. I'm only interested in the things that seem just really uncanny. So this is where it gets a little creepy. The Pope, as you know, Pope Benedict XVI stepped down amid scandal, or whatever it was. I don't really even know what it was, honestly. I don't know why he stepped down. I didn't follow it. Again, I'm not even Christian, but he stepped down, and Pope Francis took his place as the Bishop of Rome. And he is the 112th Pope on the list. Well, this is where it gets creepy. He's the last Pope. The nickname of him is, he's given the name Petrus Romanus, Peter of Rome. The Pope that will oversee, well, let's get into that. So, as you can see, I'm zooming around a virtual, I'm zooming around Rome. Well, this is the Pope, Peter the Roman, who will oversee the destruction of Rome, according to this prophecy. So, well, here, let's hop into this church. So, Petrus Romanus, his slogan in full reads, "In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit." And then he pauses. There's a gap there. And the gap is, people don't know, was there something that was supposed to go in there? Who knows? But anyway, it continues on. Petrus Romanus, that is Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations. And when these things are finished, the city of seven hells, that is Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge his people. The end, unquote. So I remember reading this when the current pope took over, and I remember joking with my cousins. I remember saying, hey, this is the last pope, we're going to see some great tribulations, and then the apocalypse. But then my laughter kind of turned into more of a slow, nervous chuckle, as you can, obviously there's COVID-19, being a horrible pestilence. Started getting spooked. I remember when COVID-19 was first hitting in Italy, had the epicenter. Vatican City was actually the highest per capita number of cases and deaths, and it was kind of scary. And at the same time, we're looking at historic locusts in parts of Africa and into western parts of Asia. And sure enough, now we're looking at the greatest floods that China's had in 100 years. And if the Three Gorges Dam breaks, that will probably be the worst floods. It's horrible to think about. But the worst floods probably since they would probably give Noah a run for his money. Who knows? But now we got unrest and the breakdown of law and order, and we all know that aliens are next. I mean, the New York Times was talking about that. So anyway, starting to look like this one might come out to be true. We'll see. So what it all comes down to for preppers is, how do we use this knowledge to best prepare, and what kind of supplies are we going to need, and what kind of gear, what kind of tactical gear are we going to need? So the bottom line is that we got a little heads up here that this isn't just an SHTF scenario. Potentially, if this prophecy is true, it is the SHTF scenario to end all SHTF scenarios. It does seem to be happening, but there's a silver lining, as always. So if it does turn out, and we do see Rome destroyed and dreadful judge appears, an interesting thing will be that will actually confirm the Bible and all that stuff. And, that's why I recommend that all preppers have a, sort of a break glass in case of emergency, have a Bible under some glass. So if the end times comes and you're like me, you're not Christian, you're not religious, boom, convert really quick. Just get in there, hop on that, salvation type scenario. And, again, though, I wouldn't do it ahead of time because, again, I'm not Christian. I don't really see the need, but always have that possibility ready that you may need to save your soul. Maybe we'll get into some kind of supernatural spirit prepping in the future. But anyway, so convert to Christianity in that scenario, and that's just sort of a good way to prep. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a lot more to say about what to do for that. But again, I just kind of wanted to cover the prophecies so that a lot of preppers out there knew what may be in store. We'll see. Keep an eye on Rome. But again, this was an odd episode. Usually I just deal with like gear reviews and things like that. But today I just thought I'd take a 50-foot view of the current situation and maybe a 1,000-foot view. And, we'll know, because if the next pope is named, you'll look back at this video and say, that was obviously was silly. But if the apocalypse happens and we're in that scenario, and as you're getting sucked into the sky of fire, I don't know, I'm not a religious guy, I don't know the details, but as we are experiencing that apocalypse, you can, as you're getting sucked into this fire volcano of serpents are flying around, you say, hey, I remember watching that Tactical Gary video on YouTube, and man, that guy was right. Think about what a good feeling that would. It would give you a little bit of a chuckle at least. And if anything, this channel is good for a chuckle. So anyway, folks, that's my episode today. It was a little bit weird, but it is what it is, and I hope it helps you get prepared for what may potentially be eternal damnation, salvation type of prepper scenario. Again, I'm not religious. I'm not, don't have any religious recommendations at this time, but I have an open mind. So anyway, this is Tactical Gary, over and out, and remember, stay tactical.